Yo, YouTube, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy, Man, bro. We back with another Ask Reddit. This one is people doing it with their step family. Oh, God. Yo, let's check this shit out. This shit about to be mad unfortunate for these motherfuckers.
r/ask Reddit. NSFW people of Reddit who have had X with an
Oh, before I do that, let me make sure my camera scene switch is lit. Alright, bad. That shit lit. Alright, I just did that shit. Alright, bad.
or step sibling or parent. What happened? How did you get into that situation? And did anyone find out? Not my stepson, but my son's best friend from high school. They had just graduated. And my son had moved off to college. His friend needed a place to stay. So he rented my son's room while he was away. My son's friend was a very good tenant. He always paid his rent on time, kept the house clean, and helped out with the man jobs around the house. It was about 6 weeks after he moved in when I felt that he was having thoughts about me. His demeanor changed. His sentences were short and he couldn't keep eye contact. I would make a risque double entendre and he would get visibly red. I had divorced my husband back when my son was still in high school and never really found time to start another relationship. So the thought kind of turned me on. So one night, when he came home late from a party a little tipsy, I let him know I knew. He was quite embarrassed at first, but I told him it was alright to take off his pants and lie down. He lay on the couch, and I grabbed his ankle and knee and began tugging it towards myself. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Pulling your leg," I answered, just like everyone reading this post. Edit. Still no idea what gold actually does.
Are you fucking serious?
Great. Now I have a stupid boner. I've seen the way you look.
Yo. Motherfucking trolls, man. Fucking idiot.
She said, "I've seen the way you stare. The way you quickly turn your head to watch me passing there. I've heard the way you talk." She sighed. "The words you talk to me, and all the things you try to hide, they're pretty clear to see. I know the way you think." She spoke. "The thoughts that come to you. The dreams you dream before you've woke. I know. I dream them too." And so, she slipped from out her dress. She let it fall below. She softly said, "I must confess. This didn't happen, bro. Come up with your own plot ideas."
Idiot.
Pornhub. We've done fathers. We've done mothers. We've done brothers on the bed.
Yo.
We've done uncles, aunts and others.
Yo.
We are running out. He said. We've done colleagues. We've done cousins.
Colleagues.
We've done misses. Misters too. We've done sisters by the dozens. But there's nothing more to do. For these beaten paths all bore them. And they're leaving. Bit by bit. Could we put a step before them? Oh my god. He said, "That's it. Nicely done. As usual." I did the deed with my mother-in-law once. It still makes me feel dirty when I think about it. I was separated from my wife at the time, in the process of divorcing, and went to my mother-in-law's house to help her with moving some furniture. We ended up sitting around after I helped, and had a few cocktails, and talked about my separation to her daughter. Fast forward to midnight and 6 drinks later, and all of a sudden I'm looking at her with her jeans to her ankles and bent over the kitchen table.
Wow.
To this day I really don't know who made the first move, or how it got to that point. It was crazy. The next day she calls me, and plays the whole "I had so much to drink I don't even remember last night" card. I get it. I know it was her way of pretending like it never happened, and I was perfectly okay with doing just that. I saw her numerous times after that, and neither of us acted strange. We just erased it, and acted like nothing ever happened. At the time I was about 30 and my mother-in-law was about 50. I've never told anyone until now. Edit, added until now. May I ice. Underrated comment 2018. My dad had started dating following a messy divorce and, after being very coy about his activities for a few months, decided to introduce me to his girlfriend's family. We all traveled to a relative's country house and had a big party. The wine flowed pretty liberally. Eventually it was just me and the new girlfriend's daughter who remained. We'd been getting on pretty well all night, and we were both quite drunk at this point.
Wait, me and the new girlfriend's daughter who remained? Wow, dude.
I stood, deciding I'd had enough fun for one night, and kissed her goodnight. One thing led to another, and we slept together. This kept up for a few months. I'm not sure if Dad ever grasped why I was always so excited to visit his girlfriend's place.
Wait. My dad has started dating following a messy divorce. Okay. Introduced me to his girlfriend's family. Reach out to the relatives because the one eventually was me and the new girlfriend's daughter. Oh, so his dad's girlfriend's daughter. Okay.
But I was there in a flash if the invitation was offered. Fast forward 6 or 7 years, and Dad married his partner. I was a groomsman. Now I have never banged my sister in games of never have I ever. Don't regret it at all. We were in our teens and we're actually good friends now. Edit. Holy hit. I know this all sounds a lot like the plot of a certain type of video found online, but I suppose miracles can still happen. Well, at least you two aren't blood related. Unfortunately. Fine. Throw away for obvious reasons. My biological mother died when I was about 5 years old. Dad remarried about 2 years later to a
fucking
woman
ears
who
are
had a
so
daughter who was the
goddamn
same
itchy.
age. We get along pretty well for the most part. Years go by and nothing happened. Sometime when we were both 13, my stepmom got in a car accident and died almost instantly.
Oh.
We all took it really hard, especially my dad. Dad started to drink and not be very fatherly to either of us. He was depressed and rarely ever talked to us, and in turn left my stepsister and I feeling despondent and unloved. One night I woke up to the sound of my stepsister crying. I went to her room to comfort her and calm her down. We both end up crying together and we just held each other for a long time. I kissed her and went to go and leave, but for some reason, don't really know why, we just kept kissing for a while. Eventually we just ended up having sex. I don't know why we did. We had never had any attraction to each other beforehand, and we certainly never planned on having sex. I think
we never planned on having X. My camera's cool, right? Let me just make sure. Alright, it's cool. We can get back to the video. Back to the video.
It's just like the idea of being close to someone. We hadn't felt the touch of someone we loved for so long that I think it was just a way of coping. In total we had sex probably 14 or 15 times over the course of about 2 years. After that we just stopped. Don't really know why. We just got over the feeling of being loved, I guess. No one knows as far as I'm aware. It never negatively affected our relationship, and it isn't awkward between us. It was just something that happened. Edit. Wording. How's your dad now, if you don't mind me asking? Also, did he ever come close to finding out? He stopped drinking when we were around 17. We're 19 now, and he dates a few people casually, but it's nothing serious. He'd never admit it. But losing the love of your life twice probably ducks you up a bit. He never came close. He didn't care about us for a long time, so even if he did find out, I doubt he would have done anything. One Christmas my uncle brought my future aunt-in-law over to meet everyone. I was 12 and she had big boobs. Like, stupidly big boobs. I got binoculars as a gift as part of a kid's packet. I thought I was being so clever pretending to look around the room with them, just so I could stealthily. She was sitting 10 feet away, get a full zoomed in image of those lovely jubblies. I did this for like 30 minutes. I'm the king of stealth, he said. The creeping, peeping knave. As silent as a sleeping dead. As quiet as the grave. I'm the prince of secret plays. A skulking, slinking spy. A sneaky sleuth. And in my ways, a super snoop am I. I'm the shadow.
What the fuck is poem for your sprog? He was in the last one too. In the first one. I mean in the first part of the video.
He cried, with hidden watcher wits. She shook her head and slowly sighed. Quit staring at my tits. I sang this to the tune of I Wanna Be Like You from Jungle Book in my mind. In high school one of my close friends lost her virginity to her mid-30s stepbrother and began a relationship with him. They didn't grow up together. I always felt like he was a bit sleazy and that he groomed her. We were about 16. The thing is, they're still together. 15 years later.
Yikes.
And everything.
Yikes. Fucking yeah. Wow. Oh, her mid-30s stepbrother. I'm done.
It really tore their family apart for a while though. What? A pedophile ducking his family member tore the family apart. What a weird judgmental family. Reddit. We justified him in our heads because he was conventionally attractive and seemed worldly. Hindsight is a weird thing. This is it? This is how we wanna start 2018. Yup. Peen in hand. Browsing Reddit and day drinking. Yeah. I know someone who got pregnant from a guy and then later married him. No problems yet. Then, though, the girl's mom and the guy's dad got together and had their own kid. So now the original couple has a brother together, the baby has a sister and brother married.
Hey! I didn't follow that shit. I know someone who got pregnant from a guy and then later married him. No problems yet. Then, though, the girl's mom and the guy's dad got together and had their own kid. So now the original couple has a brother. Oh. The baby has a sister and a brother married to each other. Say goodbye.
Married to each other. But they were married before any of the weird shit happened. Honestly, if my parents
weird shit,
I'd be so pissed. Because no one is ever gonna believe the kids got married first. So
no one is ever gonna believe that the kids got married first. Facts.
They're gonna be the weirdos. Can you imagine the Christmases if one of the two couples gets a divorce? Briefly, during high school, my girlfriend's parents were on the rocks. The mom was sleeping with another guy, and the family was in rough shape. So the dad's response was to go after my single mom. Next thing ya know, my girlfriend's dad is having an affair with my mom, while the girlfriend's mom is having an affair with an old flame. They're going on double dates together, and the girlfriend and I are suddenly unofficial step-siblings.
Oh.
Yes, it was awkward, even though it really had nothing to do with us. Thankfully, it didn't last long, maybe a month. Her mom and dad reconciled, and things went back to normal. There was one night they all came over to my mom's apartment with wine. We all drank. The mom and her fling went to a hotel. My mom and the dad went to bed. And then the girlfriend and I went to bed. That was weird. Does that count? Lol. Edit. RIP my inbox.
Word.
Holy crap, this blew up. Lol. Trying to keep up with all the responses. Glad my most upvoted comment is just a hair short of a roll tide. Jerry Springer's on line 1. Yeah. We collectively made Jerry Springer jokes while this was going on. Lol. Using a throwaway account. But doesn't matter. Everyone I know already knows this. If I've ever drawn out my very confusing family tree, I call it the family bush/shrub.
The family bush.
Just such a situation. But it's even more convoluted than that. You know how everyone has two sets of grandparents?
Yeah.
Your father's parents and your mother's parents?
Yeah.
Well, both sets of my grandparents divorced when my parents were just young kids. And then my father's father married my mother's mother. All of this was a decade or more before I was born. My paternal grandfather legally adopted my mother. She was about 9 years old at the time, and my father was raised by his mother and her subsequent husbands in a separate household. So my parents knew of each other's existence, but weren't raised together. They met as late teens, got pregnant, married, divorced a few months later, and then I was born. Mom was already married to husband number 2 of 5 by the time of my birth. But that's a whole other story. I ended up being adopted by my grandparents by age 2. The ones that are my paternal grandfather and maternal grandmother. Which makes me sort of a second generational son, since they never had any direct kids with each other. Just in their previous marriages. Odd side effects. I'm related to both sides of the family by blood, and I'm the only person since everyone else can trace a lineage back to one set of grandparents or the other. Not both. Due to the adoption of my mother by my paternal grandfather, my parents were legal siblings. and due to me being
Oh, my parents were legal siblings. That's difficult. That's horrid.
adopted by my grandparents, it moves me up a generation, so I'm also legally siblings with my own parents.
Oh, he's. It moves me up a generation, so I'm legally siblings with my own parents. I absolutely gut wrenching.
Heck, I'm even my own uncle. Never
I'm my own uncle.
my actual parents, but they are both great grandparents to my own children.
Never really grew up around my actual birth parents, but they are both great grandparents to my own children.
My adopted parents have already died, but being raised by Depression-era grandparents definitely made for a different upbringing, not to mention, having lived on a boat for years. Again, another long story. I've only had rudimentary discussions with my parents about what it was like for them in that situation. Apparently it was a bit of an uproar in the family, but it all worked out since I'm alive. I'm fairly intelligent, have all my fingers, and no weird tics or twitches. Best of all, due to their teenage hookups, they now still get to see each other at all family gatherings, weddings, graduations, etc. Over 40 years later, and this situation made the seating chart at my own wedding a near impossible task due to me having 3 mothers and 6 fathers.
Oh God.
Adopted mom, father, adopted father and 4 stepfathers. While I was being raised into young adulthood, I tended to always act/relate more like a sibling with my birth parents than a parent/child relationship, but this has somewhat changed after the deaths of my adopted parents to a more grandparent/parent relationship. Just seems to make more sense and easier for my kids to relate to them as grandparents, since that's what they are by blood. Other odd side effects. I was raised as an only child. Even though I have several half-siblings, I was raised by the grandparents, my siblings by their birth parents, and I'm the youngest in my adopted generation. But
Alright, I'm gonna read that. Other odd side effects. I was raised as an only child, even though I have several half-siblings. I was raised by the grandparents, his grandparents, my siblings by their birth parents. His siblings by theirs, not his. And I'm the youngest in my adopted generation, but the oldest in my blood generation. Holy fuck.
but the oldest in my blood generation. And due to the multiple marriages in my parents' generation, some of my half-siblings aren't related to the others. One brother and I share a father in common. Other brother, sister and I share a mother. But all 3 had different fathers. So I'm the youngest and the oldest. Have siblings but was an only child. Depending on how you look at the situation. I've had people ask me what it was like to have such a weird background. But keep in mind this all happened before I was born, or was too young to know the difference, so this is my form of normal. I've never known any other way a family should be set up until I started making my own. I like to think of it that I was wanted and loved by so many people they had to share. Edit. So many people asking for a diagram. Normal response. I have to do this regularly. I'll try to provide one shortly. Edit 2. The sequel appears my joking caused confusion. Sorry about my chattiness and ability to put words in a grinder. People usually assume some weird incest happened somewhere, but it was all clear. Just odd from a legal/adoption standpoint. My parents were of no blood relation. Just legal siblings. Of which I'm now a legal sibling as well. No, this didn't happen in Alabama. No actual incest. Remember. I kid. /u/Neenan Jones has a great chart below. Showing the basics to clear any confusion. Okay,
Shoulder.
I've attempted to translate this. Grandparents A have ops father. Grandparents B have ops mother. Both sets of grandparents divorce. Grandfather A marries grandmother B. Father/mother hookup. Have op. Get divorced. A/B grandparents adopt op. The rest is all word salad about step parents and siblings from his parents remarrying. I don't use this word often. But you're a bloody hero. Ducking like and subscribe.
Woo! Alright, that was a lot. That was a lot. Thank you guys for watching. Holy crap. I think y'all have to run that video back even just to wrap your fucking heads around that shit. That was ridiculous. God. Alright, man. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. I'm out this bitch. Peace.